Hi guys, you are watching the Demetrius Cerullo Show. I'm your host, Demetrius Cerullo, and this is actually the bonus episode of the Demetrius Cerullo Show. And if you missed it already, we had the first part of this show, and in that episode, we actually went over the Twitter files. We went over the Twitter files part 9 through 12. So if you do want to check that out, it's going to be linked down below. And we also talked about Greta Thunberg's interaction with Andrew Tate. So if you do want to check that episode out, it's going to be linked down below, or you could just check out the episode right before this one on all of the streaming platforms. Now, without further ado, let's begin.
I got facts over tracks, this and that, spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past.
Okay, so for today's headline of the week, we actually have how McCarthy survived the House chaos to win the Speaker's gavel. Now, this is available on CNN Politics if you do want to check this story out, and it's actually a very, very interesting story because of the fact that McCarthy, did I say McCarthy? Whatever. We know Kevin McCarthy was trying to get the speakership of the House of Representatives because of the fact that the Republicans have the majority. Now, we do have a very, very slim majority. You needed 218 to win. And what is it that we have? 220, 222. We only have 2 to 4 additional members to make the majority. So if we cannot come together to make one single decision, then a couple people can hold up a bill. A couple people can hold up the speakership. So these people have been going to work every single day and finding out what it feels like to be a real American contributing to society, working a normal 9-to-5 job. So therefore, I don't feel bad for you guys and the House of Representatives for going to work every single day. I mean, I do that, so welcome to the real world. But this is the first time that you guys went to work every single day for 4 days consecutively in a row. So I'm very, very happy for you guys for joining society and the rest of us, the American people. But I'm also kind of sad of the situation that unplayed. So the situation that unplayed was basically that a couple people did not want to vote for Kevin McCarthy to be the speakership of the United States of America. Now, there's no entitlement to this position. There's no entitlement to the speakership of the United States of America. If you do not have the votes, you cannot be the speaker. Your first objective to be the Speaker of the United States of America, your job is to gather the votes, gather the majority of people to be with you. Because how are you supposed to put laws into action? How are you supposed to get laws and bills on the floor if you do not have the majority of people? If you do not have the support, you do not have the position. You do not have the position because of the fact that those two coexist with each other. You need the support to pass the bill. You need the support to gain the speakership of the House of Representatives. So what I'm not understanding here is the outcry from the political pundits. I'm not understanding the outcry from all of these representatives for people not doing exactly what they said. It's a democracy at the end of the day. Nobody's entitled to this position, as I said before. If you do not have the votes, you simply do not get the position. It's so simple to understand. It is more simple than a cherry pie. It's more simple than fireworks on 4th of July. It's so simple to understand that it's mind-blowing why people do not understand this. And you know, it's funny because the only people that actually care about this are the people that are within the world of politics, deep within it. No regular American people, no regular American person actually cares who's the Speaker of the House. Nobody cares at all. Nobody cares because we do not vote on it. This is exactly what we do. As the American people, we vote in the House of Representatives to vote for these things that does not really concern the American people. Yes, they pass the bills. They put bills on the House floor. They gather the majority of our congressmen. They gather the majority of our House of Representative members. Yes, they do all of this stuff. But they do not concern us, the American people, as what they do of the House of Representatives. House of Representatives matter a lot more to us, the American people, because we're the ones that actually voted them in. Their job is to actually vote the majority party leader in, the House Speaker in. That's their job, not our job. That's exactly why we hired you to work for us, to represent us in our district. That's why we elected you. So this is why a lot of people don't really care who the House Speaker is, but Nancy Pelosi kind of changed this around where she was trying to be more of the celebrity type in the speakership. So that's exactly when it got turned around. Now, all of these House of Representative members wanted certain things, and behind the scenes, they met with Kevin McCarthy and gave him a list of demands that they would need in order for him to get their vote. This is very, very simple. If you want somebody's vote, you're going to have to earn their vote. You're going to have to comply with what they want you to do, and you're going to have to give them promises that you're going to have to keep, and you're going to have to keep their truth, their perception of what they want you to do, and you're going to have to hold yourself accountable for doing those commands and those actions and those objectives. If you do not do that, you do not have the trust of those House of Representative members. In return, they will not vote for you. So simple, right? If you do not have the trust of the House of Representative members that will vote for you, then they won't trust you and they will not vote for you. Wow, oh my God, simple thing, right? So this is exactly what happened in the summer of this year. Kevin McCarthy was thinking about running for the House speakership. He thought that we were going to have a huge majority in the midterms in November, in which we did not. We only had a slim majority in the majority of the House. So because of this, he did not have the votes, the extra votes that he needed, but he didn't count on this in the summer. When these House of Representative members, about 20 of them, met with McCarthy and gave him the list of demands that they wanted him to do in order to have their vote, he laughed in their face and walked away from the meeting. This is according to Lauren, which is a House of Representative member. She was one of the 20 people that met with Kevin McCarthy and simply does not want to vote for him in the sole basis of this claim. If you laughed in their face as they told you the list of commands that they wanted you to do and walked away from the meeting, they will not have your back when it comes down to you running for House Speaker. It's so simple. If you need their vote, why would you laugh in their face? It doesn't make any sense. Now, because of this simple thing that he did, they didn't want to vote for him, and he didn't think that he even needed their votes because of the fact that we're supposed to have a huge red wave. Remember that? It didn't happen. Because of this, he needed their votes, and they simply did not want to vote for him, in which they are entitled to. They don't have to vote for anybody. If you do not have the votes, you do not have the job, okay? We need to remember this. Now, digging into the article, we have how McCarthy survived the House chaos to win the Speaker's gavel. So, he ended up yelling at a couple different people, and I guess he only needed 1 or 2 or 3 more votes. He was yelling at the person that voted Trump for the House Speaker. Now, I find this funny because Trump was never going to win. So none of them were actually taking this seriously. The House Speaker isn't a serious job. For us, the American people, at least, it's not. So to get mad over this, I think they were just more mad because of the simple fact of they had to work multiple days in a consecutive order. They just did not want to do that for some reason. They don't want to do their job. They want to get paid, but they don't want to get and do their job. So he ended up yelling at a couple different people and said that, listen, if you do not vote for me, then you're not going to have any jobs. You're not going to have any. Yeah, so McCarthy actually threatened to strip GOP members of committee assignments if they do not accept to vote for him. If they do not vote for them, then they will not have any committee assignments. So because of this, they felt threatened and they do not trust you. So if they do not trust you, you don't have their vote. I mean, we're just going to keep going in this. Listen, you need to earn their vote. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Now let's move into a dozen takes.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take I got no love.
Here are the 20 House Republicans who voted against McCarthy for Speaker on the third ballot. Now, this is actually funny because of the fact that, yes, it began with 20, and then it ended with like about 9, and then it went down to 2, and then it was just 1 person. So here are the 20 people now. We have Rep. Andy Biggs, we have Dan Bishop, we have Lauren Boebert, we have Josh Burkine, we have Michael Cloud, Andrew Clade, Ellie Crane, Matt Gattez, Bob Good, Paul Geuser, Andy Harris, and Paula Luna, Mary Miller, Ralph Norman, Andy Ogs, Scott Perry, Matt Rondale, Chip Roy, Keith Self, Brian Donalds. Now, because of the 20 people that did not want to vote for McCarthy, because of the 20 people that didn't want to vote for McCarthy, everybody's saying, no, you're the reason. Listen, like I said, you need the votes to get the speakership. Your first objective is to gather the majority. That's the whole entire point of this. If you do not have the majority, then you cannot be the House Speaker. Now, Kevin McCarthy was just very upset because the last time he ran, he had to actually drop out and he had to concede so Paul Ryan can actually go and be speakership. So he was very jealous of this position. And as I can see, it really is a jealousy thing. Now moving into the next article, we actually have an MSNBC article. So we have how Daimler Helson collapse became the latest anti-vaccine conspiracy theory. Now, just because we're asking questions, it's not a conspiracy theory. Now, like I always say, the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth is about 3 to 6 months. That's exactly what happens here. So, cumulative experience with cardiac arrest among athletes playing competitive sports let us know the likely culprits of this serious event. When Buffalo Bills safety Daimler Helson went into cardiac arrest after colliding with another player Monday, people understandably cast about their explanations. My social media feed exploded with questions and hypotheses. Was it a trauma injury to his aorta? Was it a heart attack? Unfortunately, in the space of shock and uncertainty, anti-vaccine activists were quick to insinuate a link to COVID vaccines, suggesting that there have been a surge of athletes dropping suddenly. For those wielding an anti-vaccine rhetoric hammer, any emergency or sudden death related to sports has become a nail. Now, this is simply because of the fact that all sports, maybe not the NFL, but all other sports require vaccines. We know that the vaccine has some really bad heart side effects relating to your heart. So whenever something happens with the heart, myocarditis, all of these different things, we can connect this straight to the vaccine because of the fact that that affects the heart. We can see that the vaccine actually makes your heart pump harder. We can actually see the side effects of this vaccine in order. We can see that the cases of myocarditis actually has increased since we had the vaccine. That's why we make the connection, MSNBC, we make the connection simply because we can actually see it with our own two eyes. Wow. Just because you choose to close your eyes in the face of facts does not mean that us, the rest of the world, decides to close our eyes and act blindly to the facts in front of our face. Moving on. The narrative that there been a spike in athletes collapsing has been circulating for a while, despite being reportedly debunked. Oh, debunked what? Just like the fact that we got shadow banned on Twitter, is that debunked? Just like how what? China didn't start COVID? What? That's debunked too? What? All of these rest of the stuff that we've been true all time and time again? What? The Hunter Biden story? Debunked? It's true. The Joe Biden's daughter's journal? Debunked. What? Hunter smoking Parmesan cheese instead of crack? What? Debunked? No, all of these things actually happen, and you're just simply saying debunked because you don't want to realize these things. What? Just like the border? Debunked, what? And then we have a situation at the border now? Okay, I see what you're saying, what you're doing, MSNBC. The rumor likely started after the finding that there's a real but small increased risk of myocarditis or inflammation of the heart muscle, particularly among young men after mRNA vaccines. Wow, these rumors really took off in 2021 after Danish soccer player Christian Eriksen had a sudden cardiac arrest on the pitch. COVID disinformation speculated that Eriksen had a adverse reaction to a COVID-19 vaccine, even though Eriksen had not been vaccinated at the time of his cardiac arrest. Whoa, okay, so just because one person did not have a vaccine at the point of this cardiac arrest means that everything else that we've been saying is false now? No, just because we assume a certain thing doesn't necessarily mean it's true, doesn't necessarily mean it's false. It necessarily means that we're asking questions, which is our First Amendment right. When has the science ever been, quote, settled? No, science is you keep on researching and you keep on finding new answers. If you're wrong back then, if you're wrong now, then you're going to know 6 months from now, or you would know. Because we keep doing the research on these simple things because we need to find out if there's any objection, if there's any truth that we need to find, if we need to fix our truth that we know, if we need to fix our opinion on a subject, because we do the research about it and we stay up to date on the facts coming out every single day. There's new facts. You learn new things every single day. When did we forget about this? For those wielding an anti-vaccine rhetoric hammer, any emergency or sudden death related to sports has become a nail. After soccer journalist Grant Wall collapsed in Qatar while covering the World Cup. Wow, because he was vaccinated. And what? He was having this all these stress because he wore this LGBTQ shirt and he wasn't allowed in. He was having this, oh my God, oh, what am I going to do? I'm not allowed in. And no, listen, you were very stressed out that day because you wore this LGBTQ shirt and you were not allowed to host the soccer match within the stadium because they don't like gay people. In Qatar, they don't like gay people, so why would they have the announcer represent their country in an LGBTQ shirt? It just does not make any sense. The anti-vaccine rhetoric was so virulent that it prompted his wife, infectious disease specialist Dr. Colleen Grounder, to say pointedly in a public statement his death was unrelated to vaccine status. Well, how do you know that? How do you know that? Just because you're a doctor, you don't know for certain it was or was not from this or was not from that. How do you know? You're a doctor, but how do you know? Are you God? You don't know. How do you know that did not contribute to something else that caused this to happen? It could be a domino effect. You can't just say the science is settled and that's not how my husband died because you don't want to accept the facts. You don't know that for certain. Why would you take the additional risks when you don't need the additional risks? That's what we're saying here. If you do not need the COVID vaccine, why would you be forced to take the COVID vaccine? Why would you be forced to go outside of what you feel comfortable with just simply because people are telling you to feel comfortable about that situation? You don't feel comfortable with the situation of putting stuff in your body that's experimental and we just came out with 2 years ago. Why would you go and put your body into that? It just does not make any sense. Or 3 years ago now. Cases of myocarditis after COVID vaccines, fortunately, had been mid to trend to resolve rapidly. Medical experts believe it to be an unlikely cause of Hamlin's collapse. Such an event is so low on the list of possibilities. Cardiologist Sandeep Janar, author of Heart, A History, told me most, if not all, NFL players have been vaccinated. Why haven't we seen more instances of this event among other players? They have been using poor man's strategy as fodder to spin a far-fetched theory. No, it's not a far-fetched theory. Like I said, the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth is about 6 months from now. Just because you don't see it now doesn't mean that we're not going to see it in long-term side effects. We're not going to see the long-term side effects within 3 years of the vaccine coming out. No, we're going to see it in 10 years. We're going to see it in 15 years. These people are 30 years old. They're healthy. They're working out every single day. They're on the track. They're running around if they're in the soccer match. They're on the field if they're on the NFL. They're on the field if they're in the baseball. They're running around. They're good, healthy men. That's exactly why they're not going to get sick as fast as other people that had these vaccines. Now, just because these small percentage of people are not having these adverse side effects from these vaccines doesn't mean the rest of the world isn't. And you don't know this. Sudden cardiac arrest during sports-related activity has been observed for hundreds of years, okay? And so has heart attacks, so has cancer. It doesn't mean that we're going to put ourselves into a more dangerous situation. Although occurrence is rare, fewer than 1 in 100,000 athletes per year, it occurs constantly even though that the American Health Association recommends cardiac screening for athletes before they're allowed to play in competitive sports. They are well-established etiologies of cardiac arrest in otherwise healthy athletes, including undiagnosed strategic heart disease, hyperbolic cardiomyopathy, cognitively abnormally coordinated athletes, and initially called commotio and cardiac conduction defeats, long QT syndrome, or Bragna syndrome. Himmelin's collusion with the player has tackled moments before his heart stopped. Simulated discussion of commutato cardius, a phenomenon in which cardiovascular fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat rhythm that prevents life-sustaining blood flow, is provoked by a blunt blow to a sternum. But what exactly caused his death to remain and to be seen? Yeah, because we don't have the research. It takes a long time for these research to happen. We don't know exactly how you die, exactly when you die. We have to look at your body. We need to see, because we have the science. Wow, the science doesn't take what, 1 day or 2 hours? No, the science takes years. So moving on to the next article, we have why George Santos lies make him stand out in a party full of deception. Wow, okay, so this is from MSNBC, just so we know here. The GOP's art of deception involves exploiting the base's existing belief systems. Well, and so does MSNBC, so does the left, so does Democrats. Democrats use their already believing systems to actually make people scared to vote a certain way. Oh my God, if you don't do this, then your child's gonna die. If you don't do this, if you don't make your son your daughter, then your son's gonna kill himself. If you don't do what we say, then your daughter's gonna have less freedoms than your mother. Oh, how could you? Listen, you use this all the time. Why are you? It's like pot calling the kettle black. It's the same exact tactics of what you're using, but it's just the opposite side, so you don't like it. Moving on to the article, we have Republican Rep-elect George Santos of New York is a member of a party that has normalized the use of misdirection, factual distortions, and systematic disinformation to advance its political agenda. Yet, as the new Congress conveys this week, it seems possible that Santos's fledgling political career could potentially end quickly over lies he's told. How has he achieved the unusual destination? It mainly comes down to the fact that he has not told the right kinds of lies. Wow, okay, so at least MSNBC is admitting this. Just, if you're not telling the right kinds of lies, we just don't like what you're saying. If you lie about the Hunter Biden story, if you lie about the Hunter Biden laptop and Joe Biden's daughter, if you lie about that, if you lie about COVID, if you lie about Dr. Fauci, how awesome he is, or I guess that's the truth if he's awesome. If you say all of these things, then we completely love you, okay? But if you say that COVID is fake, oh my God, oh, that's the worst lie you can tell. Oh, the Trump era taught us that big lies are tolerable on the right when it comes to exploiting the base's existing biases, prejudices, and mistrust. But Santos's clumsy fabrications about his background and resume are about himself rather than perceived enemies. And the sheer number of scope of them have shocked and generated unease among his allies. Santos's disinformation generates controversy, but it lacks the crucial political benefit of getting the base excited, which makes the GOP less likely to put up with it. If you haven't been keeping up with the bizarre Santos story, it turns out that he lied about a shocking number of biographical details that likely were key to his appeal as he made his successful bid for Congress. Reporting from a number of news outlets in recent weeks has shown that he lied about where he went to school, where he went to college, where he worked, his mother's death, his religious background, and his relation to the Holocaust survivors. Santos grudgingly admitted to many of these big lies about his background, but he decided to step down, and he's been chronically flippant about the public's discovery of his entire personal narrative he's basically made up. Well, this sounds a lot like somebody that we know here. Oh wait, this sounds like Joe Biden. Wait a second now. So this actually sounds like Joe Biden making up everything. Well, he graduated from a full scholarship. No, he didn't. He graduated the top of his class. No, he didn't. His father said countless things to him like, oh Joey this, oh Joey that. No, that's a lie. Your son died in the military. That's not true, Joey. So the thing is that you're gonna say that this GOP person, this GOP congressional, this person that we just elected to Congress on the GOP side is making up a bunch of lies. But you're not going to sit here and say that Joe Biden, your savior, isn't lying at all. No, because you don't, it's rules for they, and not for me. If you're going to lie, no, we can't have that. But I can lie all I want, right? Yeah, exactly. That's how that works. Okay, moving into the next article, we actually have an NPR article. We have, this is supposed to be Kevin McCarthy's moment. Instead, GOP chaos resigns. What do you mean? Nobody has a moment. You need to earn your moment. This is according to NPR. Same thing anyway. This one had to hurt. Maybe the right person for the job of the Speaker of the House isn't somebody who has solid shares of himself for more than a decade to get it. Matt Gaetz, the hard-right Florida congressman, said on the House floor before nominating Ohio Rep. Jim Jordan for Speaker before a second round of voting Tuesday. This is supposed to be Kevin McCarthy's moment. Why are you taking it away from him? Listen, NPR, it's nobody's moment. You don't have a moment, okay? Just like the president of the United States. Trump, in my opinion, was supposed to be president. But there's no moment. There's not supposed to happen. It's not this is your role right here. And you're gonna get it. And if you don't get it, then it's rigged. And we're gonna keep doing the votes. And we're just gonna keep doing it until you get it. Even if it takes 9 times or 10 times or 11 times, we're going to keep voting until you win. No, that's not how it's supposed to work. It's a democracy. If you do not win, fall out and then get somebody else in that can actually win. That's what we're supposed to do. It's so tiresome at this point. This is supposed to be Kevin McCarthy's moment. One he had controlled himself into political knots to get to. Oh, poor baby. The California congressman has wanted to be speaker badly for years. Oh, poor baby. He seemed willing to do a lot of things to get the job, including borrowing into former President Donald Trump's good graces. Oh, but none of it has been enough. Congress adjourned Tuesday without McCarthy or anyone as the speaker of 3 ballots a voter. The first time the voting has gone beyond the first 1 round in 100 years. McCarthy lost an additional 3 rounds on Wednesday without resolution. The House without a speaker cannot move forward. No other votes can be held. No legislation can be considered. How this gets resolved is an open question. Either McCarthy somehow wins over the hard right members who are steadfastly holding out against him, or bows out, clearing the way for somebody else, which I would enjoy the latter, but it's already that time. Who that is, however, also isn't clear. It's an untamable position. It's an untamable position for the country, but how we got here is something for a Washington tragedy for McCarthy and for governance. So the thing is that I don't like this article from NPR. Like, you need to relax, NPR. You need to actually get your facts straight. Nobody is entitled to the position, just like Nancy Pelosi got voted in. Nobody has a position immediately like this in a snap, in a blink of an eye. You don't have that position. You need to earn that position, NPR. Moving on to the next article from NPR, we actually had, despite infighting, it's been surprisingly productive 2 years for Democrats. Wow. Oh, so productive. We have massive border crossing. We have sky high gas prices, sky high meat prices at the grocery store. We have the tanked stock market. We have zero coming in from everywhere. We have everything going down the drain. But it's been such a good 2 years for Democrats. Wow. Democrats are about to hand over the House of Representatives. The Democrats are about to hand over the House of Representatives, and the dynamic for President Biden and his party is at a turning point. Looking back at the last 2 years, there's been plenty of infighting among Democrats, even as they held control for both chambers of Congress. Biden was not able to pass the full scope of his social spending plan. For example, the expanded tax credit did not get extended, and the president's student loan relief program is tied up in the courts with uncertain future. Yes, because it's unconstitutional. But if he was to go through Congress to get the bill done, that's a legislative branch, not the executive branch, then maybe you could get it done. But you don't. You just want to sign an executive order and do it fast. Oh, do it fast because we're not going to have the majority. Oh, do it. And then, wow, the Supreme Court sues you? Or somebody sues to the Supreme Court and now it's tied up in the courts? Yes, because you knew it was unconstitutional. God. And you were supposed to be the top of your class. And yet, Democrats still managed to pass major pieces of legislation, several with bipartisan support. The problem is that they oversold and underdelivered, even though what they delivered is a normal metric, would have been pretty impressive. NPR's political correspondent, Maura Lisson, said on a recent episode of the NPR Politics podcast, Democrats' accomplishments didn't seem to be registering with the public. Yeah, at least not yet. Oh, wow. Because there was no achievements. What achievements? It's a blank book. It's literally, this is all their achievements right here. Nothing. You have absolutely no achievements at all. You have sky-high prices at the grocery store. We have sky-high gas prices at the gas station. We have record-low stock market. What do you have going for you? We have 1.5 million border crossings per day. What do you have going for you, Democrats? What do you have? Killing babies? Is that what you have? Because that's not something that we look forward to. Do you have drag shows in the White House? Yes. That's not something we, the American people, care about. Oh, God. Democrats' accomplishments didn't seem to be registering with the public yet. Duh. Most Americans didn't approve of Biden's doing. But voters did give Democrats strong midterm results, driven in part by the Supreme Court's blow of the abortion rights and an aversion to more extreme candidates on the right. Well, that's what Donald Trump said. Donald Trump said that just because of the no excuses policy against abortion rights, just because of the fact that we had no exemptions to the abortion or no abortions, then we lost the midterms. No, that's not the reason. It's the fact that we did not have good candidates. If we had good candidates, then we would have won the midterms. But at the same exact time, we know that a lot of different things factored in this election because of the fact that there was a heavy manipulation on all fronts. We had, if you do not do this, then your child's gonna kill himself. And then we had that factor. We had, oh my God, how do I have less rights than my mother? We had that factor, okay. And then we also have, if you do not vote for this, then you're racist. So we have all of these different factors factoring in this election. So then people just voted for Democrats. And then we also had very, very stupid candidates on our side in the Republicans. So we really didn't do a good job at all. No, and I agree with that. We Republican side did not do a good job at all. So that's a lot of different sides factoring in this decision. It's not just one thing. It's not just candidate quality, because listen, if you really think that John Fetterman is a good candidate on the left, then I think you're dreaming. John Fetterman is not a good candidate, and he won Pennsylvania against Dr. Oz. How are we going to sit here and say that that's a good candidate? No, because it's not just candidate quality, it's many different factors at the same exact thing. The same exact time, it's many different factors. Moving on to the next article, we actually have a Fox News article. We have Idaho murders, FBI denies directing Indiana police to pull over Brian Kohlenberger. Now, this is an actual very interesting story because of the fact that these police officers, it first got announced that they actually pulled over these people so they can run their investigation. So I'm going to just play this video here and we can react to it, because every single time the cop asks a question to the passenger, the driver pulls over or looks over and he looks mad. So we're just going to play this video now, and so I can listen to this. Okay, here's the video. So you can see here that we have the cop walking over to the white sedan every single time. And you can actually notice this. Every single time the policeman asks a question to them, the guy looks over and he's like, do not say the wrong thing right here. Now let's resume. Yeah, so at first they were saying that the police officer had pulled them over so they can conduct some investigations, and so they can see what their hands look like, what their face look like, so they can match them up to the murders in Idaho. So this is actually a very interesting thing. But why would the police department actually say, oh no, we didn't do that? Like, no, just say that you did. Like, so who is Brian Kohlenberger? So Kohlenberger, 28, is charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary for November 13 grapple homicide involving college students Kaylee, Madison, Ethan, and Exena. Dozens of law enforcement officers investigated the case over 6 weeks before news broke of Collinger's Friday arrest. Kohlenberger was extracted from Monroe County, Pennsylvania, where he is arrested at his home on early Wednesday morning. The private plane that carried him arrived in Pullman, Washington, several hours later. So if you look at this man, you don't see regret at all. Like, I don't see regret. The accused killer is represented by Ann Taylor, chief public defender. So he's not gonna. If he's gonna get death row, he has a public defender. Like, no, he's not gonna get anything. He believes he is going to be exonerated. That's what he believes, said Labar, who had visited Kornberger 4 times since his arrest. Those were his words. He's been very easy to talk to. Actually, he has a calm demeanor. Okay, and it doesn't matter. Kill him. Michael Menschgro, a presenter in Monroe County, said, let me restart. Michael Menschgro, a prosecutor in Monroe County, said Tuesday he believed Kornberger waived extradition to Idaho because of a need to know how investigators established probable cause after the crime. Having read those documents and the staffed affidavits of probable cause, I definitely believe that one of the main reasons the defendant chose to waive extradition and hurry his return back to Idaho was the need to know what was in those documents. So that's a significant development. What is Kohlberger's background? Well, it doesn't matter because he should just spend the rest of his life in prison or be eradicated. So the background of this mass killer does not matter. Why are people so obsessed with these mass shooters and these mass killers? Like, no. Jeffrey Dahmer, I don't care about you. This burger guy, I don't care about you either. Okay? I don't care one single bit. Moving on to the next article from Fox News, we actually have Florida Governor Ron DeSantis mandates all state university systems report funds spent on CRT and DEI. What does this mean exactly? Well, schools in Florida and schools around the country have been presenting themselves as nonpartisan, and then in school, they actually teach us that white people are bad and that straight white people are the most evil people. They're close to Hitler. No, that's not true at all. Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida, though, is mandating that all state universities report expenditures in research Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is mandating that all state universities report expenditures and resources used for campus activities that relate to diversity, equity, and inclusion in critical race theory systems. Press Secretary Brian Griffin shared a memorandum for Governor Ron DeSantis' December 28 request on Wednesday. This letter is a request for information of the Department of Education and State University System regarding the expenditure of state resources on programs and systems related to diversity, equity, and inclusion in critical race theory within our state colleges and universities. The letter read, the memo mandated that each Florida college system and state university system institution provide a comprehensive list of all staff programs and campus activities related to DEI and CRT. As a part of the request, each institution must also detail costs of expenditures related to each program or activity. The Florida State University System and Department of Education has until Friday, January 13th, 2023 to respond to the request. Florida Fox News Digital reached out to the governor's office seeking more detail on the long-term goal of this request. Griffin said that the governor's office, for the time being, is fact-finding. The Florida State University System and Department of Education did not respond to a Fox News Digital's request for comment. Governor Ron DeSantis has proven himself to invitate critic of CRT, a framework that involves districtioning aspects of society, particularly in the legal realm, to discover systemic racism beneath the surface. He has introduced legislation banning CRT in classrooms and in corporate settings, such as employee trainings. Though a piece of legislation coined as Stop Woke Act, the Florida DOE previously enacted a rule to prevent CRT-inspired content in states K-12 schools. So all we have to do is stop the teaching of these transgenderism in all schools, K-12 also. So add that to this, quote, Stop Woke Act, as this bill is going by, and we will be good, because 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, all of these ages below 18 should not be talking about transgenderism in schools. Even in college, if you want to take a class, whatever, you're over 18. But for kids, you should not be learning about transgenders, you should not be learning about drag queens, you should not be learning about any of that stuff. Moving on to the next article from Breitbart, we actually have Warren Davidson lists concessions McCarthy made to people who voted against his speakership. So let's actually watch this video here. Okay, so we can just pause it there. So this actually just keeps going on and on about how Kevin McCarthy should be the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Moving on to the article, we actually have Rep. Warren Davidson nominated Kevin McCarthy for the speakership on Wednesday on the 5th speakership ballot after the 4th did not produce a victor. Davidson highlighted a laundry list of concessions that McCarthy promised many Republicans would have reportedly voted against him, and he urged those members to rally behind the California representative. We're on a precise of such a destructive argument today. I plead with all of my Republican colleagues. Let cooler, more radical heads prevail. Let us unite as Republicans to elect the next Speaker of the House, said Davidson. He then asserted that 20 of his colleagues, many of whom are part of the House Freedom Caucus, have reportedly voted against McCarthy because they do not trust him, adding, "What can heal that divide? Right now, there's a lot of colleagues that do not trust 20 or more of my fellow Republicans right now, though we remain divided. An actual majority of the House Freedom Caucus members do support Kevin McCarthy." Davidson, a member of the HFP himself, noted that over the summer, the caucus started the negotiations with a proposal for new rules, including a set of tools that could be structured to make more verifiable and allow resources if the trust is ever broken. He added that McCarthy engaged in talks following the election and led Congress to adopt sustainable reforms that will make our majority more effective. He listed a number of rules that McCarthy adopted at the request of those representatives who had reportedly voted against him. Now, he's not actually including the fact that he laughed at in their face and walked away from that. So that's according to Lauren. Lowen Bohar actually said that McCarthy laughed in the 20 House of Representative members' face and said, "No, I'm not going to do that." So what's going on here is two different stories, because they want to make these 20 people look stupid. No, they're not stupid. They're standing their ground. They don't have to vote for anybody that they don't want, and that's the end of it. Moving on to the next article from Breitbart, we actually have Texas sues Biden administration over rule making Americans pay immigration welfare costs. That's just stupid. Texas Attorney General Ken Bexton had filed a lawsuit against the Biden administration over its rule change allowing immigrations into the country who will depend on welfare, according to documents obtained by Breitbart. Federal immigration law has required a public charge determination for immigrants, which bars them from staying in the country if they are likely to use welfare programs like food stamps, Medicaid, or government housing aid. The Biden administration has demonstrated its intent to not enforce the law and to open the borders to illegal aliens that will depend on welfare benefits. A press release from Bexton's office, obtained by Breitbart News, says, normally immigrants provide financial proof that they would not sap taxpayer funds. The Biden administration's rule prevents consideration of statutory required factors when determining whether an alien is likely to become a public charge. The Biden administration is committed to opening the borders to aliens who lack the ability to care for themselves. Texans should not be able to pay for those costly immigrants, nor should any American, Bexton said. I will continue to defend the rule of law and to fight to ensure that the massive cost of immigration doesn't further burden taxpayers. As Breitbart News reported, studies showed taxpayers are being billed about $1,600 per year per immigrant, and the immigrants use 33% more cash welfare than American citizens. Similarly, about 63% of non-citizen households use at least one form of public welfare, while about 35% of native-born American households are on welfare. This is just mind-blowing. How is this not mind-blowing? Why is each immigrant getting paid $1,600 per year? Why are they using 33% more cash than American citizens? And why are 63% compared to 35% immigrant households on public welfare? We should restrict this. Why are we paying for people that are not even citizens of the United States but immigrants? That's disgusting. Despite that, Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas Department of Homeland Security pushed its, quote, fair and humane public charge rule, which the lawsuit alleges is the Biden administration seeking to further open its borders. The new rule limits public charge considerations to cash benefits without regard for in-kind government benefits such as retirement, welfare, health, disability, food, assisted living, post-secretary education, and many others. Such non-cash benefits were included in 2019 expansion by a rule by former President Donald Trump. It also defangs the statutory requirement rendering most family-sponsored applicants automatically indemnizable on public charge grounds unless they obtained an enforceable advocate of support from a sponsor by prohibiting a meaningful evaluation of whether the affidavit is true or correct, according to the lawsuit. Ultimately, the new rule is seemingly intended and designed to ensure, and will ensure, there is virtually no alien is found ever to be a public charge. The 1996 Welfare Reform Act that reaffirmed the public charge rule stated self-sufficiency has been a basic principle of the United States immigration law since the country's earliest immigration statutes. It required that aliens within a nation's border did not depend on public resources to meet their needs, so that the availability of public benefits not constitute an incentive for immigration to the United States. Exactly. I completely agree with this. If we, the American people, or America as a whole, say to immigrants, hey, come to America and we're going to give you lots of money, who wouldn't come? I would come, and I would go to, I wouldn't, I'm just saying. If I was in here, the United States, and another country offered me more money to move there, then I would, hypothetically, if I was another person, I would move there. But let's just say I was a Mexican citizen and the United States is offering, because the United States is way better than Mexico. That's a better hyperbole. That's a better situation here. So I was in Mexico. I'm a Mexican citizen, and the United States just offered me money to move there. I would say, yes, please. And I would get right out of Mexico and move to the United States. I love the United States. So I would move there in a heartbeat if they offered me money on top of that. But, that's exactly where we're going to end today's show. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for enjoying. And I do think that there should be a cap. If you are not from the United States, you should not be receiving thousands and thousands and thousands of our dollars. You should not be using more than the American citizen. If anything, it should be 1/3 of what the American citizen uses, because the American citizen deserves more. They've been paying into this from birth. And not only that, their parents have been, and then their parents have been, and then their parents have been. And then not only that, but they're an American citizen. They have priority over immigrants. Like, it should be common sense at this point, but I guess it's not. Thank you all for watching, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Bye.